What, honey? Okay, everybody. Sorry, getting a little late today. Hopefully, let me know in the chat. Things are live. Should be live. I'm also having some issues connecting with Jody, so hopefully she'll be joining on in a minute. Excellent. No sound. Okay. Yes, I got my ears lowered. That I did. Actually, I just noticed that I'm not using my good video today. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we're talking. Look at that. Cool. Harold, Dr. Bob's here, Gary, Sarah, the usual ruffians are here today. Thank you very much. Gunter, thanks for coming on. Stephen. Larry, I wish I was in Hawaii. I will be in Hawaii a month from today. So super stoked about that. That'll be a lot of fun. Let me just send a message to Jody really quick here. Okay. So, yeah, today I thought it would be interesting. Hopefully Jody will be joining us in just a minute. You know, I posted a on Weaver Space and on the Rap Weaver forums about, hey, I know a lot of people are struggling and learning Foundation 6. So I thought, hey, why don't I just instead of me trying to think of what you guys are struggling with, right? And trying to do a live stream. And I have done live streams like Foundation 6 for beginners and whatnot. Why not get someone and help them through their struggles in terms of transitioning from Foundation 1 to Foundation 6, right? So I thought that'd be a lot of fun. And so Jody has been awesome. She's been a part of the community for a long time. She actually spoke at the conference last year. And I call her a professional beginner because she just has a great, she keeps me on my toes in terms of, making sure that I'm thinking like a new user would, right? And because a lot of times, we take, I'm sure everyone does. When you're really, really good at something, there's some things that we take our knowledge for granted. And I know I do that. It takes an immense amount of forethought and skill to undo a lot of that knowledge, especially when some of that knowledge really comes second nature sometimes, right? So I thought it'd be fun to bring someone on and start chit chatting and solving problems. So and waiting on Jody here. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to have someone online and just solve her problems. So I brought Jody on, or I'm going to bring Jody on whenever she joins, and we can. I plan on going as long as I need to at least get her going. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do that today. Wow, first time I've let's see, shoot, nope. So I guess to start off with, I can talk about some, let's see, last week I shipped, what did I ship? Superflex. That was really cool. If you didn't check out Superflex, it's a nice little stack from Nick Cates. I guess also I can kind of go over some. Just had a pretty simple question on Weaver Space. I just answered it literally like 10 minutes ago, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about this today. I was going to chat about it when Jody joined, but we'll do it now. So, this is a common thing that is desired, right? Which is this sort of layout where we have you have two columns, and you have like a larger image on one in one part of the column, and then you have text on the side, and you want to make sure that this text is centered, right? And so I think it was Marcus on the community wanted that. And this is really easy to do in Foundation 6, actually. So yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Actually, you know what I can do? I'm gonna delete this, and we're gonna do it from scratch. Here, let's just hide some of the other stuff I was playing around with. Okay, so here we have a container. And let's add a 2-column. And then we're gonna have a picture stack. And then we'll just do we'll do a text stack in there. Okay, now in this picture stack, let's go ahead and add an image. Boop. There we go. And okay, so then we add an image, and let's go ahead and preview that. So here's our preview. I have a 2-column with text. Okay, let's go ahead and center this text. So inside my 2 columns, I'm going to go ahead and go to vertical alignment. Okay, and we're going to set that to be middle. And voila, you even see it works inside edit mode. Boom. Okay, so that centers it. But then you might be thinking, well, that's not too great because look, I mean, we have the image and the text. It's right next to each other. It's not really what we want. It doesn't really look that great, right? So what can we do? So first you might think, okay, let's add some gutters. Okay. And we can even increase that a little bit by adding padding. And that does do it. It adds, but if you notice, it made that image bigger, right? We want the image to go full width, but we just wanted the text content on the side to have some padding. So that's not really what we want. And you can actually tell, like if you look at this image, it doesn't go all the way to the edge any longer. And even if I, reduce the padding, if I reduce the padding, the image does go to the edge. It does add a gutter. It's not necessarily exactly what this particular user wanted, because there's it basically that, there is, well, if we inspect this, okay, we can see that it adds gutters to this side and this side, right? So let's go another way, what this user wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the gutters from there. The gutters is one potential solution. Okay. What I'm going to do is you can add a 1-column or even a container into this, right? I can just add a container. He had added a 1-column, but I'm going to add a container. Same thing with okay. And I'm going to just go ahead and oh, Jody is here. Let me admit her. Excellent. Jody, 1 second. Let me finish this little tutorial I'm doing right now, and then we'll do some introductions really quick. I'm almost.
God. I thought it was at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Oh God. Okay. All right. Be with you. No, I'm all messed up with time. Hold on.
Okay. So container. We have custom classes. So I'm just going to add padding to this container. So I'm going to just do p:48. That's a utility class. You can also use a swatch, a padding swatch, but I'm just going to use a class there. And there we go. So now I have 48 pixels of padding around my content, and it's centered vertically. So there we go. Awesome. Exciting. That was a nice little interlude. Up, there we go, Jody.
Oh, yes.
Hi, how's it going? Hey, thanks for coming on today. Hey, I'm sorry about the mix of time zones are horrible sometimes,
Okay. All right. Where do you want to start?
Oh man. So yeah. So why don't we just talk about just in general what your feelings are? Because I know you're a pretty efficient Foundation 1 user, right? You got really good at Foundation 1 and whatnot. And just generally, what are your feelings about Foundation 6? Just nothing specific, just kind of like in general, what are your thoughts on it and stuff like that?
Well, I've actually been a Rapid Weaver user going back to, I think, version 3, and found myself incredibly constrained by themes. I'm an old PageMaker user. I go way back with some of this stuff. So I understand the technicalities of why you can't just freeform WYSIWYG web design.
Yep.
So when Foundation 1 came along, it was fantastic because you could start to do all sorts of things, thanks to tab stacks and your stacks and other people's stacks. You could really start to behave as if this were a blank canvas. Mm-hmm. So Foundation 1 opened up the potential of all of that. I know you're still dealing with the limitations of Rapid Weaver itself, so you have to be a shell within a shell. Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest weaknesses that I find with Rapid Weaver is the fact that there's no live preview. So that to me is, it's a challenge when it comes to workflow. So now, I actually was away from Rapid Weaver for probably 6 months at least. So picking up a project, a pro bono thing that I'm doing is, I'm also in a unique situation that I don't have, at this point in my life, I'm not going out and seeking clients. So I'm not I've got to learn this because I have to learn this.
Yeah.
I want to be able to not go back to the kiddie pool. I want to enjoy swimming. And what I'm finding with Foundation 6 is I'm not having any fun. I'm not having any fun, and I'm finding it very challenging. I can slog through most instructions when you're step by step. And I like to break things down apart, some of the templates that you do. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to my workflow, so this was my first Foundation 6 project. When it comes to my workflow, what has happened is I'm finding the stacks, the swatches, the whole swatches thing. It's very, very hard for me to wrap my head around it. I've actually copied Davide's organization because there was no instruction. And here's a way you can organize your workflow. Let's design these pen style things. Here's your fonts and your styles. Here's your width and your heights. And here's your paddings and whatever. Oh, look, you can do something. You can organize this. So when it first came out, I didn't find a way to approach it. I found it very hard to approach because there was also no overview. There was no, this is how we're doing it now. There's these things called classes, these other things called elements, these things called utilities. It was all just splat, Yeah. And I found myself having to wade through it. Part of it is the workflow. Every time the way I handle this, I'm probably different, but I kind of use Rapid Weaver as a scratch board. I throw stuff on there, I move it around, I figure it out. Well, this go in, this go, and this go, and this go. And then I sort of organically merge it all together. So I don't approach it. I've got this, I've got to have a padding for this and padding for this. So I'm much more unstructured, and I'm finding Foundation 6 to be, doesn't work well for my particular individual workflow. And the fact that there's no written documentation, I have gone over, especially with the menu thing that I ran into. I have gone over it. I looked at all the menu things. I'm still struggling with the menu. And I started to throw some templates on a scratch pad and just say, okay, how do I break this down? And then I'd say, well, what is this? I would love to be able to click on a template or a stack that's in Foundation 6, goes right to a piece of documentation, says, this is what it is, this is what it does, here's an example of how it works. So that's where I am. I'm having a really hard time enjoying it.
Okay, cool. Okay, fair enough. Oh yeah, so I took a few notes, and let's go over a few things here. Okay. Um, First, actually, a live preview. So you said you wished you had a live preview.
Well,
I know that's not a Foundation 6 thing, but there actually is. If you've used the simulator window in RapidWeaver 8, it actually does, like, and as you change settings, it'll actually update the simulator window. Now, granted, if you have it's easier if, like, maybe you have two displays, like if you have, or one big display. If you're working on a laptop, sometimes that's a little tricky because you have too many windows open or something, right?
yeah.
But there is the ability. Have you played around with the simulator window?
Oh yeah, I use it all the time to say,
Okay.
okay, is it going to run off the thing on
Yep,
iPhone
exactly.
8?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Next up, before diving into like RapidWeaver stuff, the documentation. Have you seen the new demo site in terms of that I've launched? I don't know, maybe a month ago now. That kind of reviews everything. Here, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So if we go to foundationstacks.com, okay, and you can either click on what's included, or it's foundationstacks.com/demo. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I actually need to change the breakpoints on this so the menu always shows up a little bit too large. Okay. So this is, while it's not full-blown documentation, it's pretty close. Okay. And what's kind of cool, if you notice the menu on the side, is I've broken Foundation 6 down into various sections. And what's kind of cool is the sections of the documentation exactly map to these sections of the stacks here. Okay. So we have site styles, we have layout, we have navigation, we have text content, we have image and media, we have buttons, animation, code, components, forms. Okay. And that's exactly what these are: site styles, layouts, navigation, text content, image and media, animation, buttons, components, and forms. And then we have the new swatch pack as well. Right. So if you were to, click on any of these, I do have, sections on swatches. Now, while swatches is a huge topic, this is just a general overview of what swatches are. And then if you scroll down to every single section, I show all the videos that are pertinent to all the stacks in this section.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same thing, like navigation, let's say, not like you were having issues with the menu, right? So here we talk about the menu builder. We talk about the menu stack, the drop-down menu with a few examples. Okay. And everything else down there. And then at the bottom, we have navigation specific videos. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So like if you were like, I'm having an issue with top bar, right? You can kind of go here, see at least some examples. And another thing that's cool is the project file that I used to make this demo site, I provide as well. So you can see how I've done everything here, as well as get, here's a video just for top bar, or here's a video just for the drop down menu, right? So this site, while it's not perfect, and it's not a full-blown step-by-step tutorial, it did take a lot of work, and it's a great start, I feel. Okay. So have you perused through this site at all? Just curious.
No, but okay. I can see that there are a couple of shortcomings here, and I can kind of see what they are, but we'll get to that. But that's good that you have this. So this is at foundationstacks.com. Okay.
Yep. /demo is the demo site. Yep.
Okay. Well, this is good in terms of a very kind of a simple overview, but I'm having trouble getting, for example, I can start it off with top bar because I didn't know how many pages I was going to be throwing in. And I said, I don't need to keep track of it. Let me just throw top bar in there. Sure. And because pages are coming on. I said, okay, let me check out what else I can do with a menu. So I went to menu builder. Now, I'm having trouble with the whole setting swatches for the menu builder. I understand the concept. It's basically a button, a button, and then you can link it or you can do something else, and you should have control over the button. I, honest to God, miss so much being able to say, I've got this object. I want to go over here in the settings, pull up everything having to do with this object, because then I can get it just the way that I want it. And then for me, it's copy and paste. You want 5 of them, great. And then you just change the link, you do whatever. So I find myself constantly going back between, you click on a swatch or you want to get to the swatches, you have to, I put it in shelf. You have to double click on shelf, open up the site styles. Site styles then, because it's a partial, then swings over to the partial side. You say, well, let me try this. Then you have to go back and then it shoves itself up again. And then you try that. No, I want this. And you have to go through the whole process again. How that's in general for everything. How do you get away from having to go navigate that fairly contorted path?
Sure. Fair enough. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. So, workflows. You talked about earlier how, well, I guess first off, before we talk about organizing of swatches, do you understand, do you see the benefit of what a swatch is versus, you had mentioned earlier, you can get something styled the way you want and then copy it 5 times.
Well,
right?
I understand that once you've got a swatch done, because the red thing that you did, you can change it, and everything that you've applied that swatch to. So it's a global change. That's a very good core concept. My question is, for example, I did something where it was padding 30 left, 20 right, 15 top, whatever. Decided to change it, went back to the actual swatch and changed it there. My question is, if you change it in the swatch, when you go back to the swatch it's applied to, does the actual name that you have applied to it change? Because if not, further down the line, you're going to get screwed up. Wait a minute, what swatch was applied to that? Why does this say this, but it doesn't look like it's doing that? And you go back to the swatch where you've named it, 15 top, 40 bottom, whatever it is. So when you've renamed it in the swatch, when you've changed it, does that filter down to where you plug in the class's name? Probably not.
No. If you change the class name, then no, it won't automatically change that class everywhere. Okay. But let's back up a little bit. In terms of, you are also concerned about organizing and the workflow. That seems to be a confusing thing for you. And so I do have a video on organizing swatches, and in that video I talked about how I've made it open to because when I made Foundation 6, all this workflow is new for all of us, right? For me, it's new. For you, right? It's new. And so I didn't know the best way to organize. I knew we needed to be able to organize swatches. I knew that was going to be a requirement, but I didn't know the best way yet, right? And so I gave us lots of options to organize our swatches. And I think that's provided some confusion for some people. And let me show you right now, I'll show you what I have found to be my favorite way to organize swatches. Okay. And it's kind of a mixture of various things. So let me go ahead and share this. All right. So this is actually, this is foundationstacks.com. Okay. This project is the foundationstacks.com project file. And so in here, you'll see at the top, I do have a site styles. Okay. But my site styles is pretty small. Okay. Now, you had mentioned what happens. Normally site styles is going to be inside of a partial. You are correct. All right. Now, for fun, I'm going to partial this site styles instance. Okay. So right now I'm just going to partial that. Okay. So there's my site styles instance. It's partialed. Okay. I'm going to go back. Okay. So, and like you said, I do have site styles inside of Shelf. I find that rather useful. For those that you don't know, it allows you to keep things up at the top of the screen so that no matter where you are, site styles is right there. Now, I should have named this site styles partial or something instead of partial 2. But what's kind of useful is if I just go ahead and double click that, it immediately opens up site styles inside the partial editor. Okay, and I click back, I'm exactly where I was before. I think that's a pretty decent workflow, right? Now,
wait, Joe,
yes?
let me make sure I understand this. You basically, you've got site styles.
Mm-hmm.
You click on it, it takes you into the partial area. You can do whatever you need to do there, and then you go back, right?
Exactly.
Well, and then okay. This I'm finding frustrating.
Okay.
Because I tend to make a lot of changes. I really just work organically, and I change this, change that, change this.
Sure.
So for all of these things, I've got to go into site styles, which opens up in the partial area. I make a change, then I go back, and there it is. But this is all this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Fair enough.
It's challenging. Whereas
this is why, if you notice, my site styles it doesn't have a ton of things in it, right? There isn't much in here, and there's a reason for that. Now, another thing I point out, if you don't have pen, I know you do, Jody, but if some other people that are watching don't have pen is a great way of organizing things within site styles. Okay. Yeah. So like, I can group I have this thing called BG icon, right? And then everything that's related to it is inside this one pen, right? And then I can easily collapse them and whatnot. So pen is one way to organize site styles. Okay. Now, what I was going to say is, if you notice, I don't have a ton of styles inside site styles. Okay. But obviously on this page, I'm using a lot more swatches on this page. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, in this case, what I'm using, the swatches that are stored inside site styles are going to be swatches that I'm using across multiple pages that are used in many locations. Okay, so they're kind of generic styles for various things. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what I have inside site styles. And so that one's going to be on every page. Okay. Now, let's preview this web page really quick. This particular web page is broken down into sections, and most web pages that we build are sections, right? I have this, if you look here, I have this top banner, I have this section here, and then we scroll down, I have this is kind of a section, right? And then this is a different section, and this is a different one, so on and so forth, right? So we can clearly see that my web page is broken up into sections, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what I've done for this project is I've created, let's scroll to the top. I've created if you probably know, there is also another part of the site styles or swatches organization is something called the Swatches Stack, okay? Which I have here, okay? And the Swatches Stack allows you to add swatches anywhere on your page. It's just another way of organizing swatches outside of site styles. And here I've added a little title, so it says home banner swatches. Okay. And that is directly above, guess what? The home banner section on the web page. Right. So right above that section, I have a swatches stack that contains styles that I'm using within that section. Okay.
So this is a way to avoid having to go in and out of site styles when you're dealing with page-specific stuff that you may want quick access to change.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this, let's just step back, if we step out of it, because what I find happening is, because there's all these challenges, and this could be part of the evolution of Foundation 6, but because you've gathered all the site styles, all the swatches to go in site styles, and you've organized it in the center that way, you've taken it out of the side panel, which used to have settings. Now what you're having to do, though, is create a workaround to not have to deal with what you created in the first place. What would have been, fair. What would have been, now that you're moving forward, Would it be just so overwhelming to have organized everything over? It's like personas in Affinity. You could change the personas. Stuff changes in the side
Mm-hmm.
panel depending upon what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Would it have been too overwhelming to have kept everything in the settings? Because there you've got constant access right
Yes,
at your fingertips.
because it would have been overwhelming. Because it's also overwhelming when someone adds a stack and the settings, there's like 300 settings in a stack. That's overwhelming for a user as well, right? And then they're lost in the settings of a stack. And then let's say, for example, um, and another main reason for classes is not necessarily to allow you to style multiple things at once, but it gives you the ability to have an a potentially infinite number of settings inside every stack. Okay, because let's say let's say I ship out a new stack, Commander Jody's stack, whatever. Okay, and then you say, hey Joe, I'd like to add a background color, so I add background settings to that stack. And then someone else says, hey Joe, I want to customize the font. So I'm like, okay, I go ahead and add some font sizing settings. And then someone else says, hey Joe, I want borders. I want to be able to customize the border. So I go, okay, I can add those border settings. And as you can see easily, that stack settings is going to start to grow and grow and grow. And then not only that, but let's say I then have stack XYZ, and then I add some background settings into there. But I implement those background settings a little bit differently than when I implemented it in the Jody stack, right? So now we have inconsistencies, okay? Mm-hmm. Because that now you're like, well, the background settings in this stack work differently than the background settings in that stack. How come? Why is that? That's confusing me. Okay, so now with classes, I mean, there are 50 or 60 swatches now, right? Imagine having you can apply most of those swatches to pretty much any stack with just adding a class. Okay, so it's almost like having backgrounds and borders and paddings and margins and font sizes and font families and all that stuff inside of a stack without needing to see and be completely flustered when all you want is a background setting.
I see that. I still think there could have been a way to organize it differently, but I understand what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But what I'm finding myself is, because I don't understand the forest, I'm getting lost in the weeds and the trees.
Sure. Yep. I can sympathize with that. Now, would it be really cool, like if we had like the ability to add settings to like the stacks settings panel or something like that? That could be interesting, but that's just not possible right now. So, right. So I was, like you said, I was working within my shell, and I was trying to come up with the best implementation that we could do with what I had available right now. And so hopefully that opens some light bulbs for you, or helps you understand the reasoning behind that a little bit. So here, let's go back. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So when we're working on a particular, solution, it's like, yes, you would have to go up here and add, let's say, let me find an example here. Here. Okay. So the container that holds this entire home banner, okay, has this purple gradient in it. Okay. And it has a class of home banner. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So here above it, I went and I added a radial gradient swatch, and, created a class of home banner, and created my little color gradient, and associated that with that, one class. Right. So a lot of times it's just, if I was in this container, I want a gradient, right in here. But one other thing that I find useful is, if you notice here, I have every single stack in Foundation, or most stacks, have a title field. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times what I do is, if you notice, I have classes down here. Okay, all the classes. What I'll do is I will add any class that I add to a particular container to this title. Okay, that way inside this layout here, I can see that here's my home banner content. I can see here's home banner Yeti, right? And I know that those are associated with these classes that are up here inside the swatches, right? And anything that doesn't have anything, it doesn't have anything, right? So here's home banner logo, right? Again, Yeti content, so that makes it kind of easy for me to see. Now, that there isn't any way for me to automatically add any classes to this. There's no way for me to do that yet. But I think that would be nice. But right now, I just basically copy and paste the class into this title field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some things also that we haven't even gotten into yet. Like this header doesn't have a class associated with it, but I do have some classes added, and these are these utility classes, right?
Oh dear.
And I know we haven't dived into those yet, but think of those as just pre-made swatches, right? And therefore some potentially common things that we might want, like padding and margins and text color and background colors, right? And maybe some other things, content, text alignment, or something like that, right? And those just allow you to reduce the number of swatches you have because there's these pre-made classes. Okay. Before I jump into utility classes, do you have any other feedback in terms of like this? I think, this content area is only the size of my screen. So yes, I would have to, potentially scroll up a little bit, maybe add if I wanted background colors or whatnot, I would have to add that here and then associate the swatch with that. Now, I am working with Isaiah to potentially make it nice for the ability to potentially in the future have a list of all the classes we've created. That's something that might be possible in the future. I am working closely with Isaiah on that. So hopefully in the future, we can have something like that, right? So yes. like when we create swatches that have classes, you can then, when you're in here, you have access to all those classes that you've already created, right? And maybe you can choose them or something like that, right? That would be really cool. That's not possible right now, but because I created this entirely new workflow that I think is great, and Isaiah actually enjoys it as well. We're coming up with some interesting, great ideas on how we can improve stacks so that workflows like that could be better.
Please, what I am finding again, and I know Joe, this is my perspective, is that when developers work with developers, they design and orient things for developers.
Yes.
Mike, please keep your average user in mind. You've got to step outside of your developer headset.
Yep.
What does the person coming to Rapid Weaver and Foundation 6 for the first time or whatever, they're faced with this and they're going to run and hide. You've got to be able to include other types of users who are going to give you a different perspective, different feedback, and you could find yourself creating something totally different.
Now, also, look here. Here's actually another interesting thing that I think I completely glossed over that I did here that could be useful. And that's in terms of creating. Now, this isn't any, this is another kind of open thing. You can name classes whatever you want. However, if you look at what I named, all of the classes in this area, they're all home-banner-something, right?
Yeah.
So that, I know if you look at this class, home banner logo, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what that is, right? It's the home page, it's the banner section, and it's the logo within it, right? So, earlier you talked about, potentially changing the class of something because you changed a value in it. I would propose that we rethink the way we name our classes to be more open in terms of like home banner content, right? Look, home banner logo. This is, and the width here is 500 pixels. I'm not going to do home banner logo 500, right? That's too, that doesn't help, right? Yeah. Here's, and here, another thing that I think a lot of people get confused with, if you'll notice that I have multiple swatches for the same class, okay? So here I have a home banner logo. Here I have another home banner logo. Here is another home banner logo. And so I'm applying multiple styles to the same class. So that way, in home,
put home banner logo in the class thing, it's going to apply those 3 separate swatches to the.
exactly.
Oh man, okay. That's a workflow that I'd like to see a bit more of an in-depth tutorial on, just
Okay.
step by step how that happens, because that could be interesting looking at it from that point of view. Now, here's another thing. I don't know what the heck a Z-index is. Give me a right, a left,
yeah.
a top, and a bottom.
Well, like, yeah. So there are some things that Z-index is just, that's a tough one. I mean, there are going to be some things that have a learning curve. And I'll be honest, even for me, Z-index, like troubleshooting Z-index issues, that is just a pain in the ass, excuse my French, for every web developer in the entire world. Okay. So you picked a very edge case scenario where Z-index, it's hard for me to describe what a Z-index is. That is just one thing that is a learning curve. Okay. So while I agree that some things can be simplified, some things can't.
Now, let me give you an example. Let's say
Sure.
I've got an object. I actually have it selected in edit mode, and I could go into preview in Rapid Weaver.
Yes.
But because I have it selected in edit mode, I used to be able to see the settings there. And so because I'm live preview, I can fool with the settings, watch it update and change, and decide, aha, that's the proper set of settings I want. I can't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore.
Really?
Well, because you got to go in and create swatches.
No, but so I have banner, let's say this home banner thing here. Okay. So let's say I want to muck around with the color of the gradient. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, and so I select the swatch, and I want to tweak this to be red. Okay. And there it goes.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Hold on. You've got another window open. Is that
this is the simulator? This is
so that's what you're saying, how to use the simulator.
Yes.
So this could be part of a workflow that takes the place of what would delightfully be live preview, an actual
100%
in Rapid Weaver.
Yeah. See, so you can have a simulator window open. You can have multiple of them if you want, right? But you know, a lot of times when I'm working, I have two displays, so I'll have like 2 or 3 simulator windows on my separate display, and then whenever I make changes here, all 3 of them will change at the same time, and I can see how it looks on an iPad and an iPhone and a desktop all at the same time. But you know, if you have limited screen real estate, you know, maybe go with an iPad, something in the middle, right? You know, but as you see, you can change these swatches all you want. Like here, I'm going to go ahead and we'll set this to be 100%. And there we go. The logo changes 100% right there. I didn't have to do anything else. It's live, right? And I'm changing these swatches in real time, and you're seeing the changes. It takes a second for it to change and update over there, but it does do it live.
See, now this is where, because this is an advantage of being so close to your own material, that this would have automatically occurred to you. To a user, it might not have, because this wouldn't occur to you. So some of these workflow ideas, I'd love to see a whole, live stream or something on.
I have an entire live. I think I did it like a month ago on how to use the simulator window. But yeah, I mean, it's just another one. I don't remember it wasn't a live stream straight on that, but I know I talked about it in length. If anyone remembers in chat, I forget which live stream I did that on, but yeah, I talked about how you can save window layouts here. So like I have window layout if I do it 2 displays, it's going to, so on my other display, it opened. So I have my iPhone here. On my other display, it automatically opened up iPad and a desktop view.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can save these, and I can quickly open those window layouts all from this little simulator window. And this is a really great feature of Rapid Weaver 8. These new simulator windows and the managing the layouts of them. And again, if I change any of these settings here, right, it's just going to automatically update over there.
Okay. That's handy. I didn't know that. That's great. One particular thing that I would love to see in the text stack itself, it doesn't handle certain things the way Paragraph Pro did. For example, you've got a text and you want to link Mars rover. You can't select the text and link it. What it does is does something funny with parentheses. You've got to put it in a, it just doesn't automatically link it.
So that's an unfortunate thing. And yes, I did do that. And so the tech stack in Foundation 6 uses Markdown. And yeah, yep. So, and I understand that if you want the old functionality, you can add the normal default tech stack to your project.
Or Paragraph Pro, because Tav is going to hopefully you guys will make sure things work together.
Yeah, I believe Paragraph Pro should still work in Foundation 6. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Okay.
However, I will urge you not to use that. Okay, and I agree. The linking is probably the number one thing that is annoying about the Markdown WYSIWYG. I think everything else is pretty easy to do. Now, the reason for that, for not using Paragraph Pro or the old Paragraph Stack in Foundation 1, is it uses the styled text plugin from RapidWeaver. And the HTML that generates, now I'm sorry if this gets a little technical, it's bad.
Okay.
And it gives me and you extremely it's hard to properly style that in a lot of cases. And a lot of times we cannot override the styles that the style text engine in RapidWeaver wants to put in there. Okay. Yeah. And the right now the only way around that is Markdown. That is unfortunately the best workaround right now. So yes, I agree with you. I wish that it was better. I think that the style text engine from RapidWeaver is extremely old, and I think eventually they would like to replace that. However, as of right now, it is an extremely large project for them because it's like baked into so many components within RapidWeaver. It is a really big change, but it is also really, really old, which is why I suggest people not use them. Okay. Okay. For example, I was helping my father the other day, and he had installed a Microsoft Office update, and that had, this is going to seem irrelevant, but I'll bring it back in. Okay. He installed a Microsoft Office update on his Mac, and what that update did is actually overrode the default Helvetica system font. Okay. And you might think, what does that have to do with anything? Well, he was also using RapidWeaver's style text engine. And it's the same style text engine that powers text edit, like Apple's text edit app, right? Same exact text editing engine. And RapidWeaver noticed RapidWeaver's default system font is Helvetica, but it noticed that you weren't using the default system font, you were using some other version of Helvetica because Microsoft overrode it. So no matter what fonts he was trying to apply, it was automatically applying this Helvetica version from Microsoft Office instead of whatever font he was trying to apply inside RapidWeaver.
Interesting.
And to RapidWeaver's, it wasn't their fault either. There was nothing they could do about it. It was this Microsoft update that, did all this. And that's just one example that, I think gave my father the rest of his gray hair. Tell him
to ditch Microsoft. I don't know.
I've been trying. Dad, if you're here, see, even Jody agrees with me.
No Google Microsoft products on my machine at all. But listen, I do have a question on menus. I'd really love to understand menus and navigation a little bit better. Joe, I watched all the videos.
Okay, sure.
And what's not happening is the sub menu. I see the caret, but if I click on it, there's no drop down. Also, I am not getting, even though I said I'm small, I want it to go to a hamburger and it's not doing that. So, and I tried to take apart your template.
Okay.
So this is an issue where I'm having with F6 is that
Sure.
you provide these templates to try and make it easy. I'm not understanding the templates.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So with navigation, first I think it's important to start with the correct navigation stack. Okay. Now that might seem simple, but I see a lot of people doing that. Let me go to the navigation demos. Okay. So Foundation comes with let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 primary navigation stacks. Okay, we have a simple menu. Okay. We have it's just a list of links. There's no fancy effects to there's no fancy effects to it. You can either have a horizontal list or a vertical list. That's it. There's zero effects. There's it is a very simple menu.
And
okay.
which stack is that? If I look on
this is the menu stack.
It's called menu. Okay.
Yep, it's called menu. So over here, let's find the navigation stacks. It's called menu. Okay, right. That's it. So it's just menu. It has no drop downs, no effects. It's just a simple list of links. Obviously, there's various alignment things, like you can have them spread out and you can have a logo in the middle and all kinds of stuff. We can talk about that as well. But I think a lot of people they'll start off with like a drop down. I've seen two people this week alone where they wanted a simple menu like this and they used a drop down menu instead, right? And while they got the effect they needed, I think they didn't really need a drop down menu because they had zero sub menus anyway. So it was kind of useless, right? So start off with the menu that you need. Okay, and there's also an accordion, right? Very different things. Now, right. Another important thing to think about is, if you remember, Foundation 1 was mobile first. Okay, Foundation 6 is also mobile first. So if you're going to want, let's say, a menu like this on mobile, but a menu like this on desktop. Now, Foundation 6 menus, you can morph it between one menu and another on a particular device. It's important to add the menu stack that you want on mobile, because we are mobile first, to the page, and then you morph that up on desktop. Okay.
But
okay. So like if I wanted a drill down menu on mobile and then a drop down menu on desktop, I would start with a drill down menu.
Okay. Now, those are menu selections that will allow you to really customize for the different size devices. But if you work with Menu Builder, is that a sort of a generic one that should morph correctly?
Yeah. So the Menu Builder, it's the same inside all of the menu stacks. Okay. So let's build that example of a drill down menu that will morph to a drop down menu on desktop. Okay, let's do that. So let's add a drill down stack, a drill down menu stack. Okay, and you get one menu item by default. Okay, and do you understand just adding more menu items? You can just add, and then inside here you can double click, change the we can do, this is menu A, right? And this is menu B, okay? And then in there, if you wanted these to be links, you can go ahead and link it to the page that you want.
Right.
Right? Okay. And same thing here, we can link that to a different page, right? Okay. And then if you want a sub menu on menu A, you can go ahead and click add sub menu, and then that gives us a new plus button.
Yes, I did that. But what's happening is when I hover over menu A in preview, it's not dropping down.
Okay, so let's go ahead and add just a couple. Let me just quickly build out a little complex menu here for fun. Let's just add this. We'll add a new menu item.
Don't get too complex. Let's keep it simple so we can just focus on the essential.
Okay, so here I'm going to have 3 menu A, B, and C, and each one has, you know, a handful of submenus. There we go. That's not too complex, is it? Okay. So menu A has 1, 2, 3 submenu items. Menu B has 1, 2, 3 submenu items. And oops, I thought I put C in there. And menu C has 1, 2, 3, 4 menu items.
Right.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's just go ahead and preview this really quick. Actually, you know what? We're going to be cool, and we're going to use the simulator window because we're cool like that, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and man, iPhone X is huge. Here, let's do iPhone. Oh, vertical. Okay. So here we go. I have menu A, and when I click on it, I get, again, this is mobile, right? So, you know, menu B, we get our menu items. Menu C, we get our menu items. Okay. So now let's go ahead and we can morph this up. So let's say if we are on the main drill down stack, I do under responsive, we have transform. Let's do a medium drop down. So that means on medium, which is tablets. Okay. We're going to transform this to be a drop down. Okay. Now there's actually one more thing we need to do, because if you notice, this is a vertical menu. Okay. On mobile, right? It's the menu items are displayed on top of each other. But when we have a drop down, we want the menu items to be displayed horizontally. Okay. So we also need to say medium horizontal.
Yes, that was in the videos. I saw that.
Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll swap this to be an iPad. Okay. So there we go. So now we have our drop down, but as you said, Joe, my menu items aren't showing what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just something that we'll have to know for menus. This is inside of a container. Okay. And for various reasons, containers have an overflow setting set to hidden, which means anything that goes outside of that container's box is going to be hidden. Okay. So if we just set that to be auto or visible, okay. Voila.
You know, I don't even think I have my menu in a container at all. I'll have to check and see, but I was not getting that visual.
Okay. Yeah. Another thing, I've gotten a couple questions on what is a container? Why do we need a container? And I do have a video on container versus one column. Yeah. But essentially the main thing about a container is its main function is to constrain your content to be the width that you have set inside site styles. So right here inside site styles, I have my site width set to 1200 pixels. The container is what is actually constraining that to be 1200 pixels.
Is it a good procedure then to put a lot of things in containers, or one container for the whole page?
So what I do, let's go back to my Foundation Stacks website. What I remember on the Foundation Stacks website, I had containers on my site, or I had sections, right? We showed that this site was broken down into sections. So what I did is I have a container here, and this particular one, I actually do a couple other things. I set like the HTML tag to be a header. And we go in, for SEO purposes that it could be, this is the header of my banner of the website, right? So that is a container that contains that entire section. And then further down, here's another container that contains, here I put the HTML tag of section, right? And then I have that set to be site width plus gutter. So it does constrain the content. So I personally do it on a per section basis because it also allows me to tell Google and whatever crawlers of my site that, hey, this is kind of one particular section of my site.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, well, I'll try. I don't believe I had my menu in a container at all. So if you took the menu out of the container and put it up there, do you still get the effect of, if you hover over menu A, B, and C in the
Yes.
iPad simulate? I don't know why mine's not showing up. I'll have to. And the other thing is adding the swatch effects. There was something, if you wanted to have hover buttons or hover colors change and the text change as you hover over them, could you do that? Because
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about another thing. Oops. I took site styles out. Oh, that's fine. Okay. Why is site styles broken up into these particular sections? Also, this site styles looks a little bit different. Here, let me go ahead. If you're curious why my site styles might look a little different, it was let's see. There we go. So this is what site styles looks like by default for most people, right? When you add it to the page and add some swatches to it.
yeah.
I find after a little bit, you don't necessarily need to see these colors all the time. Okay. They just take up space. So I have the ability to turn those off. These are purely just, and also this little sizing chart, if you don't necessarily need that, you can turn that off too. Okay. So that there's some settings in here to kind of help you customize. So that's a very streamlined layout. If you like them, you can keep them in there. They are helpful. Okay. What if you notice? Sorry to go off a little bit. You notice inside this shelf here, I do find that this sizing chart is useful. There is a size that I just kind of add to shelf that I can quickly access to look at these various sizes. Okay. And I skipped over all the utility class stuff. We can revisit that. This sizing chart is very important for utility classes.
Is that a stack? Where is that found?
That is a stack. It is under Foundation 6 helpers, and it is called size chart.
Oh, okay. That is useful.
Okay. So if you quickly just need to look at the little sizing chart, it's just there's no settings. All it does is display this chart. That's all it does.
Okay.
Okay. Remind me, we will go over utility classes in a little bit. But okay, so why is site styles broken down into these particular 4 sections? And I did it very purposefully. Okay. These features, they really have nothing to do with styling. Okay. It's more of adding a particular feature. So it's like loading font awesome or loading this prefetch link stuff from the swatch pack is kind of cool, or various other things, right? These are all features that you can add, but they aren't necessarily things that will style something on your page. Okay. So these are, obviously I think a very okay place for that. Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Okay. Next up, we have font and text. So everything in here, these are all your font and text related stuff. Now, if you don't have Font Pro, anyone else watching, I know Jody does, but if you don't have Font Pro, you won't see some of these. Okay. So you won't see any of these here at the bottom. Okay. You'll see these first, I think 5 or 6 here. Okay. But these are going to be all your styles for, loading font families, maybe setting some default styles of text that are maybe override the stuff that you set inside site styles itself. Okay. Because remember, inside site styles, there is still a lot of things that we set inside site styles. The default font size for all your headers and all your text and buttons and all that stuff is set inside site styles. Okay. And then we have general, okay, which I'll skip over for right now. I'm going to skip over and talk about components. Component styles, these are swatches that are made to target very specific things. Okay. The ones in general, these are general styles that for the most part, you can apply to anything you want.
How is it different than a swatch? Logically, in the overview.
I'm sorry, say that again.
How is a component different than just creating a swatch?
Well, these are component styles, right? They're not actual components, right? So for example, there's a menu styles swatch.
Yeah, I threw that on there.
Okay. So you would use this to style a menu, which is a Foundation 6 component, A menu is a component. Okay. So, you can talk about verbiage. Maybe I could call it an element or a component. I don't know. It's a way of styling something. You can't apply a menu swatch to a button. It doesn't work. It won't help you. Right.
Yeah.
So you would only apply a menu swatch to a menu. Okay. Same thing for like the new SVG swatch from the Swatch Pack. You would apply this to the SVG stack, right? This swatch is only meant for an SVG. It's not meant for an image.
It's specifically targeted. I understand.
Exactly. Okay. So I just want to kind of talk about why some people were confused. Like, why is the menu swatch up here and why is it down here? What are the difference between the things here versus the things up here, right? And that's what they are. These are very specific to things, whereas general are just general styles that you can apply to pretty much anything you want.
Okay.
Okay.
So the active, if you go back to under menu styles, the active will be the active menu. Now, over in the settings on the right, how does it line up? For example, active. Why isn't active over there? Because that's active links. Which one is that purple active square?
So this sample inside here is just showing you so when you change these colors, you can kind of see what those styles do, right? So like this active is, and this is just a sample just to help you style things. So as you're changing these color values, you can see what an active link could look like. You can see what a drop down would look. You can see what a hover item would look like, right?
Okay. For the active, which one of those settings on the right do you change?
So active links, you would change this one.
So it's a link, but active makes it look like it's the background of the box, not the link.
Well, it is the entire thing is a link. Okay.
That's what was confusing me.
Because
active. Well, what part of it is active?
Well, most menus they're all links. They all link to something, right? So that's why up here we have links for the default link color. And then here, active links. So we have the back, which is the background, and then this is the link color. So this color changes the background. This color changes the color of the link or the text.
The text.
Maybe I could have changed that as text instead of link.
Please do. It was driving me crazy. There's so many links here, and what does it mean with the active thing? And now you're saying it's the active. That's the link. So we got a terminology thing here that was driving me crazy. So links in black is the non-active menu item in the settings.
Sorry, say that again.
Okay, on the settings side, when you say links, that applies to the text for
Correct.
the non-active menu swatch block.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that would be great to understand that. And I assume on the right would be the text that is the color of or what is that actually?
So over here we have the default color, and these ones on the right are the hover color.
Wait, for text.
Yes.
Clarify.
So here we have for all the three of these settings, we have the default color for links for the text, for the caret, which is the little drop down caret indicator, and then the background color. And then over here is the hover color for the text, the hover color for the caret, and the background color for hover.
Okay. Please, maybe you could clarify this a little bit more because it was very confusing to me, this specific thing. So on the top setting where it says links, that's the color of the non-active menu item. To the right would be the what? To the right of the link. Move your cursor.
Yeah. So here, if I go ahead and change this links to be, we'll make it blue. Okay. You'll see that is blue.
Okay.
Now, if you look, this hover item is different because that is the hovered color, which if I make that green, there we go.
See, yeah, please specify what's a hover color, what's a text item, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
I
So
spent
I
hours.
think hover here is okay, but maybe I could change this default. Well, I can't change make it text. I don't know. I'll think of how I can relabel these things.
Yeah, because
Um,
background to me is like the red. The active thing, there's the text and then there is the background of the menu item, which
yeah,
is
so the
red.
background is this. So if we make that orange, okay, there we go.
And
So
that's,
the background color is all of those, right?
yeah,
Okay. Obviously that looks horrible, but you get the idea.
yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes, a little clarity between what's a hover item, what's a hover, if the hover text, the background, clarifying that would be so helpful.
Okay.
Because I think once you get past the real simple menu that you showed earlier, the next step a person would take would be to go to this kind of a menu builder. So understanding what controls what would be really critical.
Okay. Perfect.
Now I just had to figure out why my menus are not dropping down when I hover over them. And they're not turning to a hamburger. To set it on if you use the simulator and you set it to, I don't know, iPhone 8 or
Okay.
something, what do you need to set in the,
So here, let's do that. So let's add a top bar to the page. Okay. So we have top bar. Okay. And so let's go ahead and add this drill down menu that we created into top bar. Okay. And so here, we only need one. So now here inside top bar, so top bar contains two elements. We have a top bar and title bar. Okay. The top bar can have potentially two drop zone areas. So we have left and right. Here we're only going to have just the menu. So I'll turn off the right there. And then title bar. Title bar is what's displayed at a particular area. So this says hide for medium, which is the default. So basically that means the title bar is going to be what's shown on mobile. Okay. And that will basically that's showing us the hamburger. Okay. So just by adding this to the page, okay, the only thing I did is I toggled this right off. So we only have one menu item or one menu drop zone area.
I didn't know you could put all of these menu blocks inside a top bar. I thought top bar was just, the standard, the way the top bar used to be, and you didn't do anything with it. You just relied
Nope.
on adding pages to have it show up.
No, top bar in Foundation 6, it's more of a generic container that you can add whatever menu you want inside of it. So in here I've added this drill down menu, but you could add an accordion or whatever you want into it. So it makes it a little bit more flexible. Okay. So now if you want, one thing we didn't talk about is I used this menu builder to build out this menu manually. Okay. You can, in Foundation 1, most people, built out their menu structure using the pages over here in Rapid Weaver.
Yeah.
You can do that inside Foundation 6 with the RW menu stack. Okay. So now if you use the RW menu stack, you can define what style of menu you want. Okay. You do have a little bit less control if you use the RW menu stack rather than building out your menus manually using the menu builder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because in the menu builder, you can, be very explicit with your styles and things of that nature. In terms of if you wanted particular menu items to go, I don't know, open externally or something like that, it's more flexible. Okay. And we also have a little bit more options in terms of transformation and some responsive settings that we can't get with the Rapid Weaver menu. Okay. But if you really don't want to build out your menu manually, you can use the Rapid Weaver menu structure, which will replicate whatever menu page hierarchy you build over here.
Okay. But without throwing your menu builder items into a top bar, what setting on the right do you use to set it to change it to a hamburger on small?
Okay, so let's bring up an iPhone 8 again. So by default, top bar, all you had to do is add a menu stack to it. Here I added that drill down that we created, and it will automatically on mobile work.
Okay, so the idea is just throw everything in a top bar and you can get
exactly. And
okay.
then if we change this to an iPad, we will notice that iPad, it changes to our drop down menu.
But who knew to do that, Joe? For example, who knew that, okay, you're working with a menu builder and you're working with all these things and you expect it to behave a certain way and you're working with the settings. Who knew to put it in a top bar to get it to perform the way you need it to?
Someone that watched the video on top bar, maybe. I'm pretty sure there's a video on top bar. Top bar 6 foundation stacks.
Yeah, I watched it, but no, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that these specific steps, what you just showed here, is portrayed in a step-by-step fashion, so that you saw the logic of how you had to proceed.
Okay. Fair. I can rewatch that video. But yeah, so yep, top bar is just a generic container that can contain two things. You can, like, maybe on this side you have your menu, on this side you have some social media icons or something like that, right? So it is a very generic container, so you can have two drop zones within it. And then title bar is what by default title bar shows up on mobile. If you inside title bar, you can say hide for large. Okay, and what that will do is it'll show it'll show the hamburger now for tablet and mobile, right? But then on large devices, it'll show the drop down menu.
So when creating a menu, if you're not going to go full fancy, whatever, a basic thing that an average person would use, the first step is to put a top bar in, set your control settings on the right for top bar, then start using the menu builder to build it out the way you want.
Yes, and to be honest, the top bar's main benefit is if you want the ability to go from hamburger to normal menu. That's pretty much what top bar is. Okay, now I took the menu stack out of there. Let me add it back because that's. And I'm not sure why this style is looking funky inside edit mode. It works in preview, which is the important part, but I'll look at fixing that inside edit mode.
Did top bar come with the two columns, the stack on the left, stack on the right?
Yes, it has two columns by default. So like if you wanted, all right, here, let me show you what
the social media icons or a logo or a something.
Or here a button to something, yeah. So oops. So there we go. I have a button over here, and there's my drop down menu, right? Okay. And then and there it is on mobile. So on mobile, they stack on top of each other.
Yeah. Oh, that clears up a great deal for navigation.
See, so we have two drop zones, a right area and a left area. You can add whatever you want. You can even use top bar not for menus if you want. I mean, it could just be a generic thing that you can. I don't know what you would use it for, but you could do that.
Yeah, maybe even some on-page navigation things.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, top bar's main ability is just to have this go from this little 2-column container to to the hamburger. That is what top bar does. What you want to put inside of it is up to you. If you want to use it for menus, if you want to use it for whatever else, that's what you can use it for.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Now, also, if you wanted, let's say you wanted a title bar, but just the title bar component of top bar, there is a title bar stack that all it is just the title bar.
What is that? So, what does that do? What is it?
It's only the hamburger. Oops, I didn't want to delete that. Here, let's go ahead and drop that.
So the title for a hamburger menu is controlled by a title bar?
Yeah. So, there's two stacks. There is a top bar stack and a title bar stack. Top bar gives you the ability to kind of swap between things, right? But if let's say you wanted this little mobile, this hamburger thing on everything, right? Let's say there are some. I mean, I added this because people wanted their hamburger on desktop, even, right?
Yeah.
So I added the ability to have just the title bar all the time, because you can't do that with the top bar stack. You have to, it's either, you have to hide it on somewhere. So if you want just the title bar stack, that's why I added that as an option.
Okay, and can you
Okay.
change the word menu, for example? Is that the purpose of the title bar? You could change the word.
Yeah, that's a setting. You can change that. That's just here. Say,
Navigation or something.
Yeah,
right.
or, so yeah, there's hello.
But
You
that
can
would
change it to
be
be whatever you want.
right. That would be the only place to do that, would be in a title bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I mean, the top bar also has that, right? So if we add top bar in there, there's setting that same exact setting is here. Okay. Again, the title bar, I didn't, hopefully I didn't want to confuse you here. The title bar is only if you want that hamburger on everything, like on small, medium, and large devices.
Now, here's an example in Foundation 6 of creating a stack to do one small thing. Why couldn't that facility have been added to the settings for top bar as a simple check mark? On, off.
Because it would have made the... I if I could have done that, I would have. It just the way top bar works is just different. So if that's what you want, if you want a that hamburger on every device, you would have a title bar.
Okay.
So yes, if that was a possibility, I would have done that. But it just made things better for you to have it separate.
Okay, I guess moving forward in terms of Foundation 6, the caution is going to be how to keep the swatches from exploding so that you end up like with page creep on a website that's 50 pages when it theoretically should have been 20. How can you consolidate? How can you bring the functionality of the various things tighter, more concise, so that if somebody says you're not hanging hooks on top of everything and it becomes a very unwieldy hydra.
Yes. So I think separating organizing your swatches, for your sections, even let's say your navigation. I know most likely your navigation is going to be on every page, right? But maybe just chuck a swatches stack right above your menu that contains all your styles just for your navigation, and then that is going to be inside of partial that you add on every page, right? But maybe when you're doing now, I agree that a lot of times going in and out of partials sometimes can be a nuisance. Okay. But most of the time when I'm doing the initial design of a menu or a page, I don't have anything in a partial, right? So, and then once I kind of finalize the design, then I'll go back and partial things out. Right. That way, I do agree going in and out of partials all the time can be annoying. Right. So that's why when I'm doing the initial design, which is the time when I'm making the most changes, nothing's in a partial. Right. Because I know I'm designing just this one page and, I just need to be quick. So I'm just, I'll add a swatches stack up there. And then if I need to, again, create a partial of that, let's say the navigation, when I'm done designing that, I create a partial of that entire navigation that I can add to every single page. Right. And at that point, if I needed to do a couple tweaks here and there, I just go into that partial, change the swatches, and I'm out, right? So yeah, the initial design, you don't need to create partials as step one. I think that's more of like step 9. Yeah,
no, I agree. I understand that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have anything else on your list?
I don't think so. That menu thing was driving me crazy. There's no, in the text stack, but this probably is the same thing. There's no quick and easy way to increase the font size. You know how you could just say, I wanted 105%.
Yes.
To do something a little bit different. It's incredibly just restrained and confined.
Yeah. Font size swatch with signing a class right now. Yep. And that has to do with the limitations of Markdown. And yeah, I mean, there is, yeah, there is a, there are times where like, I know I just want to create, I just want to override one thing on this stack. And I wish that one thing was there just to, do that. And Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a benefit, but trying to figure out which of those one-off things to allow is something, we have to because you want a one-off for text size, but then this other guy's like, I just want this one-off for background color, and then someone else wants,
I know.
once you start doing one-offs, it's a slippery slope. It's scope creep all over again, right?
Well, here's a basic. Applying bold in a text stack just puts markdown around it, and it's visible in preview. So the function
Yes.
is working.
Yes, and you could do that now, right? I mean, just applying bold with mark. I think that is pretty simple with markdown.
It put the markdown is visible in preview. Is it supposed to be?
No.
Okay, well, that didn't work for me.
Interesting. Okay, let's look at that. All right, I'm going to delete that. Okay, let's go to here.
You just want to bold a couple of words, and it put markdown around it, and it was visible in preview, so I didn't get that.
And you're using the Foundation 6 text stack.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had markdown here. I'll delete this default markdown.
Put some lorem ipsum or something in there, and then bold 2 words. And
okay. So here's some lorem ipsum text, and I'm just going to go ahead and bold those 2 words. Okay. And click save. So we see the bold here. And if we preview that, there it is there.
Not doing it for me. That's interesting. I see the asterisks on both sides. Why? I don't know.
And you're sure you're using the Foundation 6 text stack. You want to show me? If you share your screen, we can look at that.
I may have abandoned that attempt because it just
okay.
The other thing I tried, there is no quick and easy way to increase font size. So I tried to make a swatch for red large text. You have to choose a selector. The only choice is paragraph. So choosing that, increasing the SMD sizes causes swatch text to grow larger, and page wide was not checked. So I abandoned that. It just seemed a dangerous path.
Okay. So here, let's play around with that. So okay, so we have a text stack here, and let's just call this large text. Okay. And let's go ahead and add a font style.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
And I'm going to apply this, let's see, large text. Okay. And we'll make it 24 pixels. So there we go. So here I created a font style. I did a class called large text. Okay. I set the font size to be 24 pixels. And then in that text area, in that text stack, I just put large text as the class, and voila, we get large text.
Okay, I'll work with that. That's interesting.
Another thing that I see that a lot of people tend to do is, I think that they start off maybe a little confused, and so they start clicking around and clicking tons of different settings, and maybe setting 5 was the correct one, but the 4 settings they clicked beforehand kind of broke it all, right? I don't necessarily have a fix for that, other than a lot of times starting maybe a new page and then just doing that one little thing on that page. A lot of times starting from the default settings again on a particular stack can help out a lot. And then, maybe retrace some of your set, because we learn as we, play around with things. I'm not telling people not to adjust settings and play around. That's how I think that is the best way to learn. Okay. But a lot of times, once we've done that, and maybe you've done 10 steps on something, and you maybe start from scratch on either a different page or a test project, or something, start from the defaults again, and then rethink about what you've learned from those 10 steps, and maybe apply the 1 or 2 steps that you think could potentially do it. I don't have a concrete example of that. I would be nice, but I have noticed that a lot of times, that people, and another thing, people tend to add, I think, too many stacks to the page as well. It's, you can accomplish a lot just by, and maybe I think some people also had the confusion of one swatch is tied to one class, right? And then they were, that concept of you can apply multiple styles to a single class, is a powerful thing, right? So that you can, you can create maybe that large text thing that I just created. I can add another one that makes, whenever I apply large text, it also makes it red, or, it makes it blue or whatever, right? So that, applying one class to something can actually apply multiple styles. And I think that concept is an important one, because that is really where we start getting the time saves, because we get to, like, let me share this my Foundation Stacks project again, right? And let's find, oh, here's a good example. Let me bring up the actual web page real quick so we can see it. Okay, so down here, this little testimonials folder that I have, this little card right here. Okay, this little card. This isn't a Foundation 6 thing, right? I made it look like that. Okay. But I applied it to each and every, they all look the same. Okay. So let's go over here and look at the swatches for that. Here, I called it a love card. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have them organized all in a pen. So all my love card styles are there. And the love card has a shadow. It has some padding. I apply some specific styles to the paragraph that's within it. So I make it a little larger, actually smaller.
It's all done with on your card stack, correct?
Yes, I do apply these styles to a card stack. Okay. And then I added actually I removed the border because the card has a default border. So I actually remove the border. I do an equalizer on them so that they're all kind of the same height. And I add some rounded corners, right? But then on the card, which is, these are all horizon cards, okay? All I do is in the card stack, I mainly built it so I add the picture and I add the card section with the text, okay? But the card itself just has the class love card. And it gets all of these styles that I wanted a love card to look like.
Yeah, so you've basically created a series of swatches that creates a style that you can then apply as a class to a stack.
100%.
So that's, the logic behind that would really be helpful if that was explained in an overview and demonstrated what you just did, because understanding that, the hierarchy of that, and the flexibility. Sometimes I find when you explain things, you're over here and you're over here, and then, or you're trying to.
I do. Yep, I agree. I do tend to do that sometimes.
I know, but just that logic alone, I think, would be so helpful to truly understand, because that's where the power is. That's really where the power is.
Yep, you can create your own widgets, right? With swatches now. Like you want, like here, I wanted to create a love card. There is no love card stack, right? I made it up, right? I started with the card, which actually does give you a white box and some sections, right? So I started with something that was close. And then, I mean, I could have created the same thing with a container, right? But the card stack gave me a little bit that, that a container doesn't. So I started with something that was close, and then I added swatches to customize it to what I wanted it to be.
Okay. Now, here's a thing that I find also a little frustrating, not knowing what a stack actually is and does, even after I threw it on the page. The caption stack. What is that? What is it for? I threw it on there and could not figure out. So sometimes there'll be a stack and it's like, what?
Well, So, what do you, when you hear the name Caption Stack, what do you think it does?
Um, it would, well, a caption would be under something. I was trying to use it. I'm trying to figure out layouts for, oh, 6 or 7 quotes that doesn't involve like a scrolling box. Just so I was saying, well, what is a caption? You know, how could I use that?
Where did
And because I
I
couldn't
not
get
have
the
a?
control I wanted with your, if there's a quote stack.
Oh,
But I
I don't have that in my demo. What? I didn't create a demo for this for the Caption Stack.
go
Really?
back up there, orange, orange, orange.
It's orange?
No,
No.
not orange. Tiny, tiny. Hey, hang on. I've got it in my project here.
Oh, it's components. Oh, here it is.
It's a component. Okay.
Yeah, here, captions. So here's the caption. It just allows you to add a caption on top of, in this example, an image.
No wonder I couldn't get the spacing between those two things. I said, what's supposed to be here? Where does it go on top? I see what it does. So it can throw a caption across a photo instead of just putting like a header or paragraph thing underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can add not just images. I think images are probably the best use case for it, but it basically puts a caption on the bottom of whatever you add into the caption stack.
Okay.
So you could put a caption on a video if you wanted. If you added a video stack to it, it'll put a caption at the bottom of it, right? So I did make it a generic container, but I think it probably works best for images and videos and stuff like that.
Here's an idea. I don't know if it's possible to implement it, but when you've opened the Rapid Revit project and you're looking at all the stacks in Foundation 6, is there any way to, at some point, if you were to click on it, to have something open up that would then link directly to your documentation for that stack right then, right there?
Interesting idea. So let's see. Right now, there is a show online info, but that goes to just the main site.
Right.
I could do that.
If you could link the documentation for each stack, I think that would be fantastic.
Okay. I can do that.
You're a hero. Because then it takes a lot of the guessing and the time that you waste with, well,
fair enough. 100%. Yep. Yeah. So you just want to see what is an accordion. So you could click on show online help, and it would take you there instead of here.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that.
Great.
Good idea. I completely skipped utility classes. Would you like to discuss those?
I would like to understand them a little bit better. I'm just beginning to wrap my head around classes and the structure of things.
Good. So I'm glad you're kind of understanding classes a little bit better and their usefulness. And like I said earlier, a utility class is they're just a bunch of pre-made swatches for situations, for common situations. Okay. And if you didn't know where you can see all the utility classes, there is also a classes stack. Okay. And if you add that to your page, there are a lot of classes. Okay. And they are, I try to document them fairly well. I describe what they do. Okay. So like, for example, the type scale one is interesting because let's say for SEO purposes, you wanted something to be an H3. Okay. However, in this, maybe on a particular section, you didn't want it to look like your H3s. You wanted it to look like an H4 or an H1. You want it to be styled like an H1, but you still wanted, for SEO purposes, you wanted it to be an H3. So all of these classes, if you apply an H1 class to an H3, it'll make it look like your H1s. Okay, so these are useful ones for things like that. If you want to make even a paragraph look like an H1. Just put an H1 class on it. You're done. Okay. So that's kind of useful. There's all, if you just want to add a simple shadow, you can add a shadow class. Right. So you don't have any control. It's what I've pre-baked as what a shadow looks like. But if you're happy, I like the default shadow stack or shadow class, but you could add a shadow swatch and do your own custom one. But if you're happy with the one I've chosen, you could just add shadow as a class and it'll add a shadow to whatever you added it to. Okay. Let's see, what are some other common ones? There's a bunch of visibility stuff. There is a visibility stack. Okay, obviously. And a lot of the layout and column stacks. Oh, I'm not in my sandbox project. Like a lot of the containers have visibility settings here. Okay, so hide for small, show for small, all that jazz. All of these are classes as well. So we have access to every single one of this logic as a class. So you could add it to whatever you wanted as well. So if you didn't want to add it inside of a container, you can add that class as a class to whatever. Let me add that class here. Okay. Now, ones that I find probably are the most useful are going to be things like margins and paddings and width and height. I tend to use those a lot. And the syntax for these it can be a little confusing, okay? Because there's so many possibilities. And
question, what's the
please.
difference between width and height and when you're setting detailed padding?
So if you want, most of the time we want our widths of things to be full width of whatever the container it is. But let's say you want something to be a fixed height or a fixed size. Let's say you wanted a little icon that was 256 pixels, and you wanted that to be a static width. Okay.
Oh, it's a static width setter.
Yes, it is a static width. You can also set it to like, I want it to be 50% or stuff like that. You can use it like that. But yes, it's to explicitly set the width of something.
Okay, so it's a fixed width setting.
Yep. And same thing for height. Height gives you the ability to set the height on something. What's cool with height is I have these things called VH. So that stands for viewport height, which is this browser height. So if you want something to be half the browser height, you can easily do that with a utility swatch or utility class.
Then how does position come in? What is positioning? When you want to position, let's say you've got a 2-column thing. If you want to position a logo or an image and some text, and you want them to kind of more or less be centered, how would any of this come into play with positioning?
That's even simpler. So actually, right before you joined us today, that's exactly what I was showing. I was answering a question from the community today. I'm going to build out the same exact example that I built out there. Okay, it'll take me 2 seconds here. I am sharing my screen. Good. So let's go ahead and add it. Oops.
So there's no position stack, or
there is a position swatch. However, we don't need that for to do what you want. Okay, because this is a common thing that a lot of people are going to want to do. Okay, so let's just preview that. So here I have 2 columns. I have an image and I have some text. We want to center this text. Right? Okay. So in the 2-column stack, there is a vertical alignment option that we can set to middle. Right? It's now vertically centered.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this doesn't look too great because we might want to add some padding to this text area, right? Because it doesn't look nice right next to that, right? So, we could go ahead and add like a padding swatch, but I already have padding classes or padding utility classes. So I'm going to use those, and I'll show you with an example of this. I'm going to add 48 pixels of padding to this text. Okay. So I'm going to do P:48.
Okay, so we would need to refer to your class's guide to see what settings you have, or swatch settings you
Yep,
have already created that can be applied
correct.
to. Okay,
Now you cannot add whatever number you want here. Okay. The numbers that are allowed are the numbers that are in this size chart, which is why I pointed this stack out earlier.
yeah.
These are all the numbers that are available. And this chart kind of gives you an idea of how big that is, right? Because sometimes we can't visualize what is 128 pixels. Well, guess what? That bar, that's 128 pixels. Okay. So now we can easily visualize what all of these sizes are and see what values are available to us.
But the padding that you have in your chart is going to be padding everywhere. In other words, it's not just left, not just right, whatever. It's
correct. Now, so this is, let me open up a text edit window so we can make it a little bit larger here. Okay, so P:48. Here, let's make that even bigger. Okay, all right. That does padding on all sides. Okay. However, there are other things. You could do PT:48. What do you think that might do?
Okay, that'll just add the top padding of 48. So
that'll add the top. And then you have PB:48, and you have PR:48, and you have PL:48.
Excellent.
Top, bottom, right, left.
So you have those set in that class's default chart.
Yep. Yeah. So inside that class's stack. Oh, did I delete it? Oh. So I try to document that here. So you'll see that there's P:size and all the size. These are all the sizes available. There's PT, PB, PL, PR. There's also PX and PY. PX will do right and left. PY will do top and bottom.
I don't know why I didn't know about this, but this is very handy for a user approaching this. Part of the overview of this is the way Foundation 6 is structured.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere it might have been in a video that you would, oh yeah, we just throw a classes thing on there.
But there's so many videos and you can get lost in them. I agree. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's part of the initial setup that a person coming to Foundation or struggling with Foundation 6 should know.
Mm-hmm.
I was creating all my own things, padding, 30 left, to whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that these were already here, already built in, that I could use as a default.
Yep. And I have to say there is madness to the numbers that I selected as well. I selected these numbers very purposefully. And what it does is it kind of forces you. And actually, if you've noticed, let me just hide this. If you notice inside of it, let's say add a margin swatch here. If you notice here, if you notice these numbers, even in here,
yeah,
guess what? It's the same exact numbers. Okay. Now, why did I add these? Why did I choose these numbers? If you notice, these numbers are scaled up. It's mostly by 4s, right? So 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, and it goes up. And it eventually, once you start getting bigger, it stops going up by 4, it goes by 8, and then up by 16s and whatnot. Okay. But it's a logarithmic scale that makes sure that your layouts look good. Okay. Because if you have, let's say you had 5 pixel margin on something over here, and then over here you add 7 pixels on something different, while they might not be right next to each other, it overall, if you were to use a uniform scaling system such as this, someone might look at a page and it'll just look nicer. They might not know why, but because they use this uniform padding or margin system where things are scaled and spaced, at some sort of scale, it will look better to people. Okay. So I purposely chose this exact scale on purpose. And that's why that is. So while I know a lot of people will go to the detailed view immediately in the margin stack and start adding whatever values they want, because I do let you do that. I recommend that you don't, and I recommend you try to stick within these these values. I did a lot of research and picked these numbers very specifically to help us out to create better, more consistent layouts.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, so that's the utility classes. Yeah, some other useful ones. So on top of, you know, height and width and margins and paddings, which I do use those quite a bit. There's some other really nice ones for background colors and text colors.
So the utility, when you use the term utility classes, you're just referring back to this chart.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was some sort of unique, different animal.
Nope, I'm just referring to this chart. These are called utility classes. That's what these are.
Okay.
Okay. So here for background colors, I have BG colon, and then you can insert a color. And then here's all the colors that you get. They're listed up here. Okay. And guess what? These are all the same colors that you define inside site styles. So we have primary, secondary, alert, success, warning, white, light gray, medium gray, dark gray, black, and overlay. So you can apply any of these colors here as a background to something super easy with a utility class. Okay, let me show you an example. So let's say this particular 2-column stack that I added here, I want to make that, let's do it a light gray. So light dash gray.
Joe, I'll be right back. You demonstrate away.
Okay, so I'm going to do BG colon light dash gray. And there I go. Right. So now this particular container has a light gray background. And that color of that light gray is controlled by whatever color you've assigned to the light gray color inside site styles. Okay. And conversely, also there's text colors. So we have color colon and then all the various colors that are available. So for this, we actually have a little bit more colors because we have not only we have all of these colors as well as all of these colors. So you have header, subheaders, text color, link color, and then primary, secondary, alert, success, warning, and all that jazz. Okay. Cool. Let me peruse through. I've been kind of ignoring you guys in the chat. I'm sorry. Man, let's see if there's any interesting questions. Preview and Safari, Microsoft tortures everyone. Yes, Microsoft tortures everyone. Thank you, Danny. Okay. Foundation 6 menus certainly more challenging than F1 items, but more flexible. Yes. Remember, you can also build a menu yourself with any button stack without using menu stacks. That is true. So, you know, there is a button. The button group stack actually is really cool. So if I go to buttons, right? So I mean, you know, here's just you could just align buttons next to each other, and you can even make them clear. I know Davide does this actually, like here, for example, here. This is 3 button stacks, right? Or a button group set to clear. And then they are. So pretty simple. Here's a button group. So yeah, you can definitely use a button group for a menu as well. So good idea, Davide. I know he does that quite a bit in some things. Awesome. Oh, Jody, did I fry your brain yet?
Well, no, I think it's really interesting. Hopefully I've given you some ideas on how to make this, to orient a new user or a beginning user or someone who's having trouble like me to the concept of the whole thing. It's really important not to dive into all the details without orienting someone to the overall concept and the way that you have structured this and what you have done to make it easy for people to follow along. So I think if there's anything that you can do, perhaps in the beginning of your documentation, putting those kinds of explanations there, so it's all consolidated in one space, that could be helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I think I tried to accomplish that at least somewhat with the demo site. I know you haven't had a chance to review that much, but I think that will be very helpful for you as well. I did try to explain, you know, and I try to do that a lot, is the reasoning why behind I do something. I think that's very important. Not just say, you know, click this and click that and you're done. You know, allowing you to really understand the why you're going to click this button is very important, right? Because I want to teach you to fish, right? I don't want to give you a fish, right? You know, I want you to be able to fish on your own, right? That's my definition of success, right? Is to allow you to understand these things so that you can grow and do things that you never even imagined before, because you understand the underlying things, right?
This is true, but I want to enjoy fishing. So don't make it more complicated. Don't throw more stuff on there. I mean, some of the effects that you may have built into some of these things, it's who uses that really? I mean, you know, the blob stack, really? You know, maybe it. So
that was more of just a fun example of how you could use Swatch. That's actually a perfect example of, there is no blob stack, right? That entire blob was created with a single class of adding the blob class to something, right? Example, just like the love card thing, right? There was no love card. There is no blob, but I created a blob out of swatches, right?
Yeah.
And again, the blob, you know, I use the blob on that foundation demo site for the menu, which is kind of a fun thing.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jody. Hey, you know what could be interesting is maybe we can come back and circle back in like a month or so, and then do a part 2 of, you know, taking Jody to the next step.
Okay, because I'm sure, you know, this is wonderful. You're demoing and I'm asking the questions and I'm seeing it there. But then when I get back into my own project,
exactly. Yep.
Wait a minute. I thought he said something about that. How do I do it again?
Yes.
And there you are back at square one, struggling again. And
yeah, that's why I think a follow-up would be awesome to kind of, you know, really, you know, because like you said, tomorrow or this afternoon or whenever, you're going to go back in and start, and you're like, oh shoot, what was that? Like, I know it was so simple. He just did it in one click, but what, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think if you're up to it, I think, you know, doing a follow-up in like a month or so could be a lot of fun.
Okay, I will keep a list, a running list.
Okay, awesome, cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining, Jody. I appreciate it, and as always, it's fun chatting with you. And cool, thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed this. I know we went a little, you know, longer than usual, but it was a really long, good conversation. You know, we ironed out a lot of things, answered a lot of questions, and hopefully you grew a little bit as well as Jody did. So thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully I'll see you guys, some of you, on Fridays. And every Friday we are on live on Zoom at, actually right now, this time on Friday, though. Hopefully we'll see you there, and take care, everyone. We'll see. If not, we'll see you next week at next week's live stream. Take care, guys. Bye.